Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are working through a three-quarter view blank drawing on how to draw the three-quarter view face. The first session, part one, we went through a few steps. Some of the steps that we went through, I'll show you back here just to review. We put an oval on our drawing, for just to start the drawing, and then we moved the middle line over and then added a line in the back for the back of the head. We found the eye level line and we put in this small shape right here, the small shape of the side of the face between the nose and the cheek. Today, we're going to start measuring and putting in the features, maybe even get in the back of the ear, probably, and then the last session we'll work through the shading. Hopefully we'll get some of the shading done today too. The last session, part two, took a long time to get all of the big parts in place. But once you get the big parts in place, things will move along a little bit more quickly now. We left off with working on this small part of the face right here. We looked at this drawing with the red lines on it in order to just really concentrate on that shape right there. Once you get this shape in a three-quarter view portrait, the rest of it goes quite well. It really flows along quite nicely. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to be looking at another portrait. I have a couple copies of this here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and start to put in this small eye right away. As I put in this small eye, I'm going to work then down the nose, and then we'll work into the mouth area, and that will work. That works usually quite well. I know that I don't have any of the other features in yet, but it really helps with some confidence once you get this small eye in place. Now, when you're looking at the small eye, what we're actually seeing here is the edge of the nose, the side of the cheek right here, and part of the nose is covering up part of the eye. And you see an upper lid here, right up here, and you see the lower lid down there. And then a lot of times, if it's turned just right, you'll see the edge of the eye here, but then not, depending on how it's turned, but not the front corner. A lot of times you won't see where the tear duct is because it's hidden. And that's the case right here. All right, so as we look at this eye, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger yet, and we'll take this guy eye to eye. As we move this over this way just a little bit, you can see it easier now. When you're looking at this three-quarter view eye, the three-quarter view eye is going to be like right here at the eye level line. All right, so I put the eye level line here. I put this notch in there. I'm going to put this eye like sitting right on top of that eye level line this time. So when I'm doing this, I'm looking over here at this notch, and I'm going to take a line, and it's going to come up and around like this for that upper lid. The side of the eye, you actually see a little bit of the side of the eye, kind of like you see when you're looking at a profile eye. Remember, the profile eye looked like this. The profile eye kind of looked like a little bit like a piece of pizza pie there. Here, you see the edge of that eye, kind of like on a profile. And then underneath here, you're going to see this curve up. There's going to be the lower lid, like that. I'm going to move this line out of there. The lower lid is going to come around there in a foreshortened circle, like this, and then angle down. This upper lid is going to come over the top, and then it's going to angle back like this, and then it's going to go right back into that notch of the nose right there. So again, I usually start with the top line here, then I curve the bottom, foreshortened circle, kind of like a candlestick holder, and then there's going to be the lower lid. So there's this small eye. When I talk about the small eye on the face, I'm talking about the eye that's away from you. Now, as we work our way down the nose here, you can see that the nose is going to come and curve like this. Now, with a front view eye, you see a nostril on both sides. Here you only see a nostril on one side, but it doesn't look exactly like the profile nose. If you remember, the profile nose was just straight out sideways. This one is, you're going to see this curve come like this, and you're going to see another foreshortened curve come up around this way. And then here I'm going to put a curve up and down like this to help to show where the back part of that nostril is. So that's more of a profile, or excuse me, a 3/4 view nose. And that's just very, very simply done. Very simply done. Now I'm going to take this line out here because that's just going to cause confusion. Now, as we move down into the mouth area, I've already added a little bit of room here for the chin. Let's slide this up just a little bit. There we go. I've already added some for the chin. So remember, we moved this out in this direction to add from that original oval. Now, when you do the mouth on the 3/4 view, I like to go back and I like to take a look at where this philtrum comes in. And it also really, really helps if you have the line in where, let's take this back out. If you have the line in where the mouth goes in the first place. Okay, so let's go like this. Here we have this mouth coming straight across here. So the mouth is going to come about that high up, and I'll measure it from the bottom of my paper to the tip of that mouth. It's going to come right about there is going to be the tip, right in between the upper lip and the lower lip. Okay, so I measured that across like that to find the mouth. Now, let's go back in here a little bit tighter again. I'm going to pull this drawing over. Again, I have multiple ones here just to kind of help with seeing these parts. Now, right in here is where the lips part. But before you do that, I like to put in the philtrum. Now, if you look here real closely, right at the curve here, you see the outside line of the philtrum coming down, and it kind of angles like this. The philtrum is that little area underneath the nose that comes and scoops, and it goes back up. You can see on this side, it's going to come from about the middle of the nose. It's going to come down and scoop and go back up. That's the philtrum right there. I like to find out exactly where underneath the nose that goes. And everybody, it's a little bit different. Then this part of the philtrum right here, this curve of the philtrum, ends up being the top part of that upper lip. Here, there's a bit of a V shape. If you look over here, you can see a little bit of a V shape. And this mouth is going to come up, and then it's going to come down, and then it's going to come over this way, past that line a little bit. Now, when you draw a line straight up from the mouth here, if you draw a line straight up, you're going to go run into about the middle of the eye. But we don't have that eye in there yet, although there is a line there now. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to just shorten this just a little bit. Let's do that. Let's shorten this down. It looks a little bit long. Now, on the back side of the mouth, this comes around like this, and all of a sudden, it just stops. You don't see it going around the back side of the mouth because of this foreshortening. So if I show you with the mouth here, when you're looking at the mouth straight on, you can see that it's the same on both sides. But as I turn it the same way that I'm doing this drawing, if I can get this the right angle, okay, right about there, can you see how this lip just kind of curves like that and it just stops? The upper lip, you don't see it going back. You don't see the point back here because it's foreshortened away from you, okay? You see the philtrum right there. You see the upper lip. You see this little peak right there, but you don't see that back corner. So when you draw this, you have to allow that back corner to disappear. So this is kind of how you do it. It's a little tricky. This part of the lip just comes around and it kind of curves and it just stops. And it turns around into the lip right there. You don't see the back corner of the lip because it's foreshortened away from you. This part of the lip is going to come up. And I'm going to change this angle here just a little bit. There. It's going to come up and then it's going to angle down, down, down and get thinner and thinner until it meets that lower lip right there. Okay. Underneath the lip here, just like in the front view, I'm going to measure down about how far I think that should go. And I'm going to put a little curve this way, kind of like an upside down U. This part of the lip is going to curl around. The 3/4 view mouth is a little different than the front view or the profile. So remember, there's a muscle here, there's a muscle here. We talked about that when we did the front views. And then this is going to come back. I'm going to take those back out of there so they're not confusing. And then usually the lower lip doesn't stick out quite as far as the upper lip. That gives you a little bit of room down here for the chin. Now, you might need to add just a touch onto the chin. If you do, that's okay. You can add just a touch onto the top of the head too to keep those eyes in the middle. I like to kind of put a ball shape down here for the chin. I'm going to add just a little bit down here. There we go. So it might not be exactly the same size as the other. Now, this is the tricky part. I took a big sigh. The trickiest part for me is always, this part in here flows in there quite well. The trickiest part for me is finding the second eye, trying to find where exactly that goes, all right? So you can measure on this one, it would be easy to do if you just want to measure how far back that eye goes from, like, let's just say this part of the eyebrow, because you already have it in there. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go and try to find it in a little different way. First of all, here's this notch. I'm going to clean up that notch just a little bit. I'm going to put in a thickness for the nose right there. It's going to come out like that. Then right here is where the edge of the bone goes on a 3/4 view portrait. If you look at the skull right here, and if you're looking at it from the side like this, the bone, the edge of the bone stops here, and in the nose, the cartilage part comes out past there. So right here, sorry about that, this is where the cartilage ends. This is where this nose comes out. There's a lot of really cool anatomy in a nose. I'm even going to start to put a little bit of the shading right here in the nose because it helps me to find that second eye. Finding that other eye is a little tricky. Then I like to bring this up. Here's my eyebrow line going across. I'm going to take it up to that other eyebrow line and then down. So what I'm doing here is I'm kind of building in this eye socket. And I like to put a little bit of shading in there. You can shade it with your finger like that, works really well. Okay, now the whole idea is the 3/4 view eye is not a front view eye and it's not a profile eye. It's kind of in between. And you can see it has a little bit of an angle. So it's not going to be as long as the front view. It's a little bit foreshortened, just a little bit. Well, where does that go? Well, this original line that we put down there, you should be able to put the eye right on that. But with this one, you could also measure it kind of like this. I could measure it over from the brow, from where this nose, the brow and the nose starts. I could measure it over like that. And I'm just going to put a little bit of a line right there. That looks pretty good. I'm going to build this eye socket right here. I'm going to take it back from there just a little bit. If you do a line up and down, let me show you this one here. If you do a line up and down from the tip of the nose, that eye is just a little bit back from there. So if you want to run an eye straight up from the edge of the nostril, that eye starts just a little bit back from there with this portrait. So it looks like this eye is going to start about here. It's going to fit into that eye socket, about straight up from the nose, maybe just a little bit over. And I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to go and I'm going to draw this in there. Now it's going to come up and around and then angle down just a little bit. Because remember, the eyes have just a little bit of an angle this way. So when you're looking at this eye, you can see that. I'm going to angle it like this, so it's going to be a little bit of an almond shape, like that. Then I'm going to take out these lines right here. Now again, I'm putting this on YouTube so that you can watch this a couple times if you need to. Especially placement of this eye can cause lots of people grief. This eye is a little tricky to place. So I'm looking here at the top of my eyes are going to line up like that. The bottom of my eyes are going to line up like that. I'm going to make this just slightly bigger. That's good. Now I'm going to put the eyelid above it, like this. I'm going to put in the thickness of the lower lid, like this. You can see this angle. I'm going to move these back, and let's see how that looks. That's not too bad. I'm going to take this up a little bit. It looks a little bit big on the bottom, so I'm going to take it up about a pencil width, about a pencil thickness at the bottom right there. That looks a little bit better to me. Okay. Now the inside corner of the eye is going to go down about to there, and the middle of the eye, or somewhere about the middle of the eye, is going to come down to the edge of the mouth. So that's close enough right there. That looks pretty good to me. Now I'm going to take out some of these lines because I don't need those anymore. They're very important for placing things at first, but towards the end, you don't need all of those anymore. So I'm going to take those back out. Take out some of these lines in the nose here. Okay. I'm just going to leave the eyes kind of hollow like that for right now. That's okay. And I want to go back and put in the ear. So as we go in and put in the ear, and then I wanted to start working on the eyes and stuff too. So I'm just going to place the ear. The placement of the ear is similar to the placement of the ear on the profile. If you remember on the profile, the placement went the front of the eye, the back of the eye to the bottom of the chin equals the back of the eye to the back of the ear. That was on a profile. If you look here on a 3/4 view, it's just a little bit different. If you look at this one, it's going to be like this. The front of the eye to the bottom of the chin equals the front of the eye to the back of the ear. So I can measure it like this. I can take my pencil and measure from the front of the eye to the bottom of the chin. See how I'm pinching it with my fingers right there. The front of the eye to the bottom of the chin is going to equal the front of the eye to the back of the ear. So I'm going to place the back of the ear right here. It's just off from that mark. If you look at the placement of the ears across, we're going to see that if you draw a line across here, those ears line up. Not quite to the top of the eyebrows, but somewhere between the eyebrow and the eyelid. So somewhere like right in here, there's going to be the top of the ear. And then if you look at the bottom part, that's going to line up pretty much with the nose. So this nose line that I've already have across there, that's going to be the bottom of the ear. And this ear is going to angle slightly in, like this. The shape of the ear is going to be wider and rounder at the top, and the lobe is going to come down here. Once I get that ear in place, now I can go down and put in this jawline. The jawline was just a big circle. Now I can make it more angular and put in this jawline. That looks better. Once you get that in place, you can look at the back of the ear, and then you can adjust and say, all right, how much room is there between the back of the ear and the back of the head? I have just a little bit too much here. So I'm going to shave some of this off a little bit. I'm going to take a little bit of that room off, like about 1/4 of an inch, maybe 2/3 of an inch. Not 2/3, about 3/8 of an inch, sorry. I'm going to take that off and just shave that off the back. Now you might not have to do that. You might have to add a little bit on yours. It all depends on the distance between the back of the ear and the head. And then the back of the head's going to come down, and then about right at the ear, the neck is going to start right there. Then in the front of the face, the neck is going to start about halfway into the chin. This is another male, so he's going to have a bit of an Adam's apple, and I can put in the chin like that. Okay, now we're at 20 minutes. I'm going to go just a little bit longer on this one and put in these eyes. All right, so as we're taking a look at the eyes, at least I'm going to do the little eye, and then maybe we'll finish up with the rest. Let's go just a little bit bigger. So this one's going to be slightly longer. Okay, so I'm going to go eye to eye here. And when you're putting this in, I'm going to go in and I'm going to put in the roundness of the iris. Notice it's kind of a foreshortened circle there. It's not a perfect circle. I'm going to put in a highlight. And then I'm going to put in the pupil around it. The pupil is also going to be a bit of a foreshortened circle. It's not completely round. I like to get the darkness all the way around that highlight. I like to get the darkness across the top of the eye like this. I'm going to take this down a little bit further here. And then you can see that starburst pattern that comes out into the iris. We've done that a number of times now. And I like to get the darkness around the bottom here of the iris. Here's going to be the edge of the eye right there. Make that even just a little bit bigger for you. Sorry. So there we go. So there's our drawing with the eye. Then around here, I'm going to put a little bit of shading at the top. Go up into that eyebrow like this. I'm going to put a little bit of shading at the top of the eye itself. I'm going to let that shading come around that upper eyelid. You could get this a little bit darker if you want to. And you can rub it. If you have a Kleenex, you can use that. If you have a stump, you can use that. If you have a Q-tip, the Q-tip works really well too, right there. That works really well. Then underneath here, I'm almost done shading this eye. I'm not going to spend a real long bit of shadow here just to show the difference between the edge of the face and the background. I'm not going to be shading the background on this much. Probably not at all. So that will save some time in the next video. Okay, so I'm going to bring some shadow down along the outside edge of that nose right there. There we are. All right, so there's this small eye. And we have that drawn in and we have that shaded now. So that looks pretty good. All right, let's back this back out. And we'll look at the whole thing, where we are. Okay, so here's the 3/4 view portrait. And it's coming along pretty well. I have all of my features in there now. I have a little bit of shading here. So tomorrow with the next video or the next time, I hope to be able to finish up this video, finish up the 3/4 view portrait with the rest of the shading. Thanks for drawing with me. Have a great day. Bye.